55 minutes after the hour on the Michael Medved Show, talking about the new Obama strategy, and it seems to me it's unmistakable, which is to push Republicans into the impeachment trap, which would allow him to play the victim card, allow him to play the racism card, and would basically destroy, it seems to me, Republican chances of winning the Senate of the United States. Let's go to Sarah in Alaska. When you hear Sarah in Alaska, you think of one person. Hello?
That's that one person. This is Sarah Palin, yeah.
Governor Palin, thank you very much for calling. I guess you were listening to the show and hearing some areas of disagreement.
Well, I was listening to Rush Limbaugh, your competitor, but he went to commercial. So, yeah, I switched on your show. And, evidently, Michael, you have not read what I've been writing about impeachment, about it being the only recourse to rein in a lawless imperial president. The Congress has this one remedy, and if they don't exercise it, things are only going to get worse. This is all about accountability. It's all about not allowing a president to set a precedent that is so dangerous. The next president and the next president will come to believe that lawlessness is basically accepted and would be commonplace in the executive branch. So,
Governor Palin, I have spoken before on the air last week, and not so much today, but in support of Speaker Boehner's lawsuit, which is an attempt to do exactly what you're saying, and it seems to me a worthy attempt. Why is it not more appropriate to support the lawsuit, which at least has some chance of success, rather than supporting impeachment, which is sure to fail?
No, it's not sure to fail, because articles of impeachment can be drawn up, and what that entails, of course, is providing the public evidence of the lawlessness, and the list, of course, is very long of those laws that Obama is not following and making things up as he goes, and through executive fiat deciding things that adversely affect our country. But no, as for a lawsuit, you don't bring a lawsuit to the front lines of a war, and this is a war. It's a battle for the future of America. Now, before I had you in the conversation, because I know about time on radio, you kind of asked why I personally would bring this up while having watched a Sarah Palin channel, a show that is self-promotion. You are so absolutely wrong on this. If this were self-promotion, I would have shut up about what I believe our country needs to do to hold this president accountable. I would have played it safe. I would have done what politicians and some of you politicos do, and that's look at polls and say, okay.
Governor Palin, I would love to continue the conversation. I want to give you a very good chance, and I would love to explore this with you. If you can hang on or call back or we can continue, I would love to do that, because you know that I do respect you, and I've supported you in the past. And I honestly think it would be fruitful and important if we could continue the conversation in this greatest nation on God's green earth. And as promised, one of the most influential and highly publicized and persuasive voices on the American right, in the conservative movement, is the former governor of Alaska, a vice presidential nominee for our party, for the Republican Party in 2008. Her name is Sarah Palin. Everybody knows her. She needs no more introduction. She was listening to this radio broadcast earlier and heard me speaking critically of her call for impeaching President Obama, and she was kind enough to call in, which I love and salute you for. Governor Palin, thanks for joining us again.
Hey, thank you so much. And it's not that I was kind enough. I think I sounded kind of mean in that first segment. But hey, no, you're the influential one, and that's why I did want to engage in conversation here. Your view that a lawsuit to rein in Obama, my view that no, it's going to take impeachment. I think it will be good discussion for the public's good use.
Well, I appreciate that. Speaker Boehner has a piece today that ran in USA Today. And he says this. He says, "We will debate and pass the resolution authorizing the lawsuit openly, transparently, and in regular order." By the way, Paul Ryan announced his support. Virtually all the Republicans in the House are supporting this lawsuit. At the same time, we will also continue, he says, to add to the list of more than 50 House-passed jobs bills currently awaiting action in the Democratic-controlled Senate. Congress makes the laws, the president executes them. That's the system the founders gave us. This is not about executive orders. Every president issues executive orders. Most of them, though, do so within the law. This is also not about me versus President Obama. This is about future Congresses and future presidents. There's a conflict between the executive branch and the legislative branch of our government. It is the judiciary branch's role to help resolve it. Why do you think Speaker Boehner's wrong?
Well, I think that the premise right there is right. We agree on that because basically he's saying it is lawless. Now, what's the solution to that? He's saying, okay, these are the steps that we'll take in the judicial branch to rein this in, but he and other Republicans, and I love them to death, and I'm part of the party, but they also said that they would repeal Obamacare. They also said that they would cut funding so that our priorities in our nation could be lined up according to the will of the people and not allow Obama to fundamentally transform us through the budget. There's a lot of things that they've said that haven't come to fruition.
Okay, but if I can interrupt you, Governor, I think you're highlighting exactly the problem here, is they have kept the promise about repealing Obamacare in the House. They voted to repeal Obamacare 30 times, and it always dies in the Senate. In other words, what good does it do, even if they were, through some miracle, able to vote out articles of impeachment in the House? You know and I know both, there is no chance that we're going to get Democrats in the U.S. Senate to vote to remove the president from office. So what's the point?
So it's not guaranteed. Well, either is a lawsuit. And a lawsuit, it's going to take years, I believe, to get that through the system. And like I say, it's not guaranteed. There's also the question of perhaps immunity for the president. Perhaps that will be the claim, as he's covered, for some foreign policy decisions. He's got immunity. So there's so many questions there. I believe that the founders provided the remedy for such a problem as we're facing today. They prepared for it, so they crafted this articles of impeachment. Hamilton did. Remember when he wrote about this, and he described and defined what high crimes and misdemeanors meant, so that that's what would be the charge against the lawless president, to rein in an administration that's doing such harm. And high crimes and misdemeanors, as I said before, it does not have to do with today's penal code, what we're used to seeing as criminal offenses, but it is offense that adversely impacts society today. These are political offenses. It's dereliction of duty.
By the way, Governor, you and I do not disagree about the president's misuse of his authority, particularly what he's threatening to do on this immigration issue, which is just outrageous, and by the way, completely blows up any chance of constructive immigration reform, just destroys it. But here is my basic point. We'll get to this.
And that's what he wants. That's what he wants, of course.
Of course, just for political bases, just so that he can win everything for Barack Obama. I believe the only thing he cares about right now is winning this senatorial election, keeping control of the U.S. Senate. But here is my basic math, and I want you to tell me where I'm wrong, and we have to come back right after the break with Governor Sarah Palin. 44 minutes after the hour on the Michael Medved Show, joined from Wasilla, Alaska by Governor Sarah Palin. She has become by far the most prominent and respected voice in the Republican Party advocating for impeachment. A lot of pushback here. The Democrats clearly like this talk, and that's one of the reasons I have a problem with it. I just put a challenge before the break to Governor Palin. I want to repeat it and then give her a fair chance to respond. The challenge is this, Governor. Even if Republicans sweep the senatorial elections and end up with 55 Senate seats, which means we would knock off 10 sitting Democrats or win Democratic open seats, 10 of them, we would still have only 55 seats in the U.S. Senate. And the reason I say that is because to remove Barack Obama from office, to deny him a great big victory, the kind of victory that Bill Clinton used when he beat impeachment, to actually remove him from office would take 12 Democrats minimum voting with the Republicans to knock off a president of their own party, who also, by the way, happens to be our first non-white president. Do you really believe that that is even vaguely possible? And which Democrats would you be targeting to try to persuade them to join a vote to remove the president?
Amen. I absolutely passionately believe that it is possible. And first, I believe liberals want us to believe that they love hearing this talk of impeachment because they're going to be able to turn it around for their reelection bids. And it's kind of a reverse psychology thing that they're playing on us, and some people are buying into it. And that's why I'm going to be even more adamant about explaining why we should impeach. Who are these Democrats? You've got to know that there are still Reagan Democrats and Blue Dog Democrats, those who will stiffen their spines and do the right thing, because both sides of the aisle, both political parties have so many problems that a lot of Americans, maybe we're registered in a party, we believe in the planks in one or the other party, but we're independent. And I believe that there are elected independent Democrats who will do the right thing.
Okay, but who are they? I mean, in other words, I can think of one potential Democrat in the U.S. Senate, and I've gone over the list pretty carefully, Governor. Joe Manchin of West Virginia.
Yeah, he's good. Yeah.
He is a good guy, and he's pro-Second Amendment, and he has, I think he would vote to, frankly, repeal Obamacare at this point, and who knows, maybe he'll party switch if we win the majority, but he's the only one. I can't think of another single Democrat in the U.S. Senate. I mean, remember, even Joe Lieberman, who is somebody that I know and admire and love greatly, he voted against removing from office President Clinton.
As more Americans open their eyes to this lawless presidency and the precedent being set, hence the reason we need to rein it in, the more the will of the people will be exercised and will be made manifest by our pressure put on these Democrats. Here's how we find out who these Democrats are. We ask them. It becomes kind of a barometer in this coming up election. Hey, Mark Begich, Senator from Alaska. Yeah, you vote with Obama 98% of the time. We're so disappointed in you. But here's the question for you. Are you willing to uphold the will of the people and respect it by, if need be, casting a vote for articles of impeachment against this president to rein it in? We ask them.
But, Governor, I'm even assuming Mark Begich is going to be gone, that he'll be replaced by a Treadwell or Sullivan or Miller or one of the Republicans who's running to replace him. And even if he's gone, you've got a Republican, and even if you hold every single Republican vote, you're talking about more than 1/4 of the Democrats in the United States Senate would have to vote. Let's back up for a moment. Would you agree with me that if we go through a process where we basically grab the national agenda and the whole national agenda becomes impeachment, which would have to happen, it always happens that way, and we fight, and then lose, which is what happened with Bill Clinton, would you agree with me that that would be a profound negative for the conservative movement?
Absolutely not. I believe it is a message that conservatives and those good Democrats who understand this issue are willing to stand up, stick their necks out, even if it hurts and destroys their own future, their political future. We're the ones who understand this fraud on the American people being conducted by Barack Obama, the president's willful refusal to execute the laws and usurp the constitutional authority and prerogatives of Congress, and this dereliction of duty. No, it will prove that we have the voice of truth, and I do believe there are enough independent people who are registered within the Democrat Party who are on our side on this.
Okay, except here's the problem. From the history of the Clinton impeachment, Bill Clinton never, ever had the high approval ratings he did during the impeachment crisis. He reached his high point. He had a 78% approval rating the day that the Senate voted not to remove him from office. The same thing, don't you think, would happen to Barack Obama, that all of a sudden, if Republicans voted articles of impeachment, he would see a huge lift in his popularity and he would play the victim card?
No, that's a great question, though, but absolutely not. These are two totally different issues. Back then, his 70-some% approval rating of Clinton's was, it's because it was a sexy, exciting, I guess, issue, a personal issue, and people so bought into that, what he does in his personal life does not affect the policies of America that affect my everyday life. This is different. People understand that Obama is fundamentally destroying America, and we're going to do whatever we can to stop this. And what we can do is make Congress exercise their constitutional authority, responsibility to rein it in via that only remedy being provided by our founders, and that is articles of impeachment.
And if you were, and when we come back, and we do have to go to a break, if you can isolate for me what you would cite in drafting articles of impeachment would be the top two high crimes misdemeanors or bribery or treason. We will be right back with the one and only Sarah Palin, former governor of Alaska, former vice presidential nominee of the Republican Party of the United States. We'll be right back with Sarah. 55 minutes after the hour on the Michael Medved Show with Sarah Palin, former governor of Alaska. She has just launched the Sarah Palin channel, and I've got to say, and that was my immediate reaction when I looked at the promo for the Sarah Palin channel. I initially thought this is a crazy idea, but the promo looks very, very catchy. You'll be able to see it at our website at michaelmedved.com. Governor Palin, just two quick questions. Right before the break, I was saying, what would you say were the top two issues you would focus on in articles of impeachment?
Among Obama's offenses would be refusing to secure our borders by fiat, his own DREAM Act that he's inventing. That's illegal. Lying, this is fraud on the American people, lying about Obamacare and the Bergdahl prisoner swap. He didn't notify Congress. But lying about Benghazi in the cover-up and IRS scandal, blah, blah, blah. That's about four so far. You asked me for only two. You want me to keep going? We only have a couple minutes.
No, I don't. That's perfect. That's fine. Okay. My last question would be, right now, one of the things that everybody knows about Congress, and people don't like it, is it's impossible for Republicans and Democrats to agree. They can't even agree on funding highways. They can't agree on dealing with this current immigrant crisis with these kids who have been led across our border, which is a disaster for our country, it seems to me. They can't agree on that. How do you believe that they're going to be a minimum of 12 Democrats who are going to agree with Republicans on something as polarizing as removing a president from office?
Michael, what good has all of the other, have those investigations thus far resulted in? Obama's just getting worse in terms of transforming America. Again, this is why I do not believe in lawsuits being brought to the forefront of a war. It needs to be the ultimate check against this lawlessness. Tell me, what good have all these other investigations that have been driven by Congress resulted in?
Well, I'll tell you what good they've resulted in. President Obama's approval rating, this was reported on MSNBC this morning. President Obama's approval rating in the states that have competitive senatorial elections is down to 38%. The American people are disillusioned with him. Right now, the people were asked if they could vote again, Romney versus Obama. Romney would win by 9 points. The American people are waking up to this guy. My deep concern is that if we talk about impeachment, we're doing exactly what he wants, exactly what Dan Pfeiffer wants, exactly what Nancy Pelosi wants. We're avoiding all the real issues where he's vulnerable. You get the last word, Governor.
No, I think you're buying in on this issue to what they want you to believe. It isn't true. That trajectory that Obama is on in terms of his approval rating dropping so low, that is going to continue, which means the lawmakers are going to read that, and those good guys who will respect the will of the people will take action on this.
Governor Sarah Palin, I so much appreciate your conversation and contribution, even though we very passionately disagree on this one. But that's part of our great privilege of Americans as citizens of this greatest nation on God's green earth.